Internet. Daniel Driving Dragons back to talk about the first poser gang in my Dodge City, Kansas cyberpunk red setting. Now, as of this video right now, at the filming we had 20 subs on the channel, so 480 subscribers to go before I give away some cyberpunk red rule books and some supplements to some folks who decided to sub up and become part of the channel. Hope to see some more discussion down in the comment section. So let's get into it. This is the very first element to my Dodge City, Kansas cyberpunk red setting, and we're just going to go ahead and put it out there. We all know it's coming. This is the obvious choice, but we're going to talk about a poser gang based on some of our famous lawmen and gunfighters that have come from history related to Dodge City, Kansas. See you on the other side. So what have we got for our first gang that is coming in here? Doesn't matter how big or small a town is, you got to have some gangs, some groups that go against the grain and try to make their own rule in any cyberpunk setting. And what have we got left over in Dodge City? Well, what we've got is a poser gang that is the Bat Masterson Posse. Now, for those not familiar, in cyberpunk red, you got a bunch of different kinds of gangs. You have booster gangs, you have cults, you have what are called, like justice and defense gangs. You've got chromer gangs, rocker gangs, and you have a group of gangs called poser gangs. What poser gangs are typically associated with and known for, what makes a poser gang is that they take a specific piece of Americana, of pop culture from the past, and they base their entire identity off of that. Now, the funny thing about poser gangs is a lot of times a poser gang is going to be a caricature. It's going to be there's going to be some misunderstandings involved. Now, the best example I can give of a poser gang that a lot of gamers would be able to pick up on is if you've ever played Fallout New Vegas, in the blasted waste of post-apocalyptic New Vegas, there is the Kings. They're a street gang that fights for justice in the bombed-out remains of Las Vegas. And what are they labeled on? Well, the King, this great ruler from the past. And who is it? It's Elvis. It's Elvis. They've taken up residence in a Las Vegas Elvis impersonator school, and that's what their whole thing is based off. So it's not even Elvis the person, it's the Elvis that is studied by Elvis impersonators. So you got all these guys walking around with the slick-backed pompadour and the voice effect of the drawl, of the rock and roll hip shaping, of the big rhinestone collar, and they're the Kings, baby. Total posers. Every one of them looks like Elvis. Well, that's what a poser gang is essentially in cyberpunk. But with cyberpunk, you got things like body sculpting and very easily accessible cosmetic surgery. So if you got a poser gang, they make themselves look and feel like whatever it is that they're posing for. And that could be anything from characters from an old TV show to just random pop culture icons to historical figures. In the case of Dodge City, Kansas in the red, you have a gang, and it is about a 20-person gang. So it is not big in numbers, but when you start factoring in that you only got 2,000 people, if you got 20 people in a town of 2,000, that's 1% of the population. That's a significant force for the area. These guys are a poser gang based around lawmen famous through the Boot Hill museums and whatnot that are in the Dodge City area. They include people trying to shape themselves to be like Wyatt Earp or his brothers like Bat Masterson and other Doc Holliday and other gunslingers and lawmen who became famous in Dodge City, Kansas. Of course, is mainly a caricature of these people. They're just as likely to pull Wyatt Earp from the Tombstone movies as they are Wyatt Earp from a history book. They're just as likely to pull these not so accurate biographies and myths about some of these gunfighters as they are of the actual people. Now, the Masterson Posse is currently led by a deranged individual by the name of Wyatt Earp. Now, Wyatt Earp is, as the name may suggest, he is affected himself to be as much like Wyatt Earp as he possibly can be, or at least the image of the gunfighting, posse-leading, super lawman Wyatt Earp, who doesn't take nothing from nobody and will form a posse to go on a vengeance ride at the drop of a hat and, is indestructible in combat. He is borderline cyber psycho. We're talking very little humanity remaining. He is chromed out as far as it can be, and everything he has is designed to enhance his mobility to make him harder to hit, and his ability to gunfight, his ability to shoot, his ability to see, to pull off impossible things, hearkening back to Wyatt Earp, the various stories about Wyatt Earp, such as when he fought Curly Bill Brocious and was standing in the river and the shotgun, gun belt fell around his ankles, but somehow shotgun blast going off at him and all the shot goes through his coat, between his legs, off his holster, but somehow none of it hits him. And he kills Curly Bill Brocious, and it's just like, seriously? The man has so much dumb luck, it's not even funny, but it's turned into a myth of invincibility. So this is Wyatt Earp. Wyatt Earp he lies so much he believes himself. He has decided that he is a direct descendant of the Earp clan. He is an Earp boy, tracing himself back to Wyatt and Virgil and Morgan. His grandfather stood beside Bat Masterson. Now, 5-minute Google search will tell you that none of the Earp boys had any children. They had a half-brother who had some offspring, and they had a sister who had some. So there are some descendants out there, but there are no direct descendants of any of the famous Earps. And so this guy's just full of crap, but he's come to believe himself, and he will go ballistic on anybody who tries to prove otherwise. The Masterson Posse has kind of a twisted morality, I guess is the right word for it. The gang is a law posse going on their vengeance rides, going off to bring justice to Dodge City, but by justice, they essentially mean people who break whatever laws it is that they chose to make up at this point in time. These can be laws like trespassing because you went on what they see as their territory, or theft because you decided to come in and sell drugs on their turf and therefore you stole profit from their drug business. You can see that they go after you for slander and defamation because you perhaps pointed out that Wyatt Earp had no children, so therefore Wyatt Earp cannot be his great-great-great-grandson. They are a vindictive group that tends to fixate, especially their leader. He tends to fixate on a target and just maliciously and viciously hunt them down in any way he possibly can, making them an extremely dangerous gang, especially because every last one of them has focused very heavily on cyberware related to their ability to gunfight, and that is not the kind of person you want to be in a shootout with. So that's our first group. It's the Masterson Posse, named after famous lawman Bat Masterson from Dodge City. It is a poser gang that is more or less based on Wild West movies about Dodge City, Tombstone, the Earps, Masterson, Doc Holliday, etc. It is led by a man who's on the cusp of losing his mind from his cybernetic enhancements, who is a solo that has exceptional abilities as a gunfighter, and maybe your players are going to be the ones who end up being the target of his next vengeance ride. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Talk to you guys later. Like, share, and subscribe. And when we get to 500, we'll start giving out some books. Talk to you later.